Hello and welcome everyone. This is Sukarna. Welcome to ETimes TV. Today we have very special Depinder Chibber with us. You have seen her in Masterchef Australia 13, also known as the curry cake queen. Hi Depinder, welcome to India. How's it been so far?
Hi, Sukarna. Thank you so much for having me. Look, coming to India is always a treat for me. I absolutely love it, and I'm totally biased as well. So I look forward to coming here. The more, the better for me. I've been lucky enough to have two trips in the last 6 months. So it's been last 3 months actually. It's been great. So yeah, loving it so far.
So what have you tried so far in India?
Everything really. I mean, everything that I can that's nearby. I'm in Mumbai, so I'm doing a lot of Mumbai style street food right now. But generally speaking, I'm from Delhi, so I do a lot of Delhi street food. I absolutely love street food, so I dive into that straight away.
Let me ask this way. What was the last thing that you munched on?
The last thing I munched on, should I tell them? Probably a vada pav that I had. That was probably the last thing I had. And that's one of my favorites, and I can eat them all day long. So, but to be honest, the last thing I had was a cutting chai.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's great. So I remember the last time we spoke, you were just out of MasterChef Australia, and then everything was very new. How's life been post that?
It's been very different. Look, MasterChef has been a life-changing experience for me. Um, I have had the opportunity to meet so many chefs that I've looked up to. Also, the opportunity to be able to work in so many kitchens, run workshops, have interviews like these. Like it's just been a phenomenal experience. It's been a roller coaster ride as well at the same time. But I must admit, showcasing Indian food was like a privilege for me to be able to do, and I feel quite grateful and very lucky to be able to do that on a platform like MasterChef Australia. And having lived in Australia for so long, that was the kind of platform that I would have gone to if I was ever to do something like this.
So how do you wish to take this forward, like the exposure that you got, like bringing Indian cuisine to the forefront? How do you wish to take it forward? Like any plan, any launch?
Look, I would love to actually showcase Indian regional cuisine. And I've said this before as well, that regional cuisine is something that we don't often see very commonly in Australia. Like you've got like your regular Indian dishes, and it's becoming more and more popular. Like when we first moved there, we didn't really have Indian street food, but it's there now. And I think regional dishes are still gaining popularity. And home cooking, I think, is that, there's a gap in Indian cuisine when it comes to, I can talk about the Australian food scene. I can't speak on behalf of other countries, but what I've realized is people don't know or are unaware, especially the local people, of what our home food tastes like. If I invite somebody over for dinner or lunch and I ask them, what do you feel like eating? They'll say, oh, I would want butter chicken, or I want chicken tikka masala, or I want like very few of them would be like, cook me the food that you make at home. And it's because they don't know what it's like. So for me to be able to showcase them either via a cookbook, which is very high on my list, and I'm actually in the process of collecting recipes to be able to write my own cookbook, which specializes in home cuisine, and simplifying Indian food, because for someone who doesn't cook Indian food, it can be quite intimidating. The number of steps, the number of ingredients, the number of spices, masala, tadka, this, that, like terminologies as well. It can be quite intimidating for a local Australian person to adapt to, or to cook after work. So I want to be able to simplify that for them. And I think the best way to do that is via a cookbook. And hopefully, God willing, in the near future, I really want to open up a restaurant serving Indian home food, like ghar ka khana kind of thing, which we don't see. And I mean, I'm yet to come across that in Australia.
So which is the most longed Indian food in Australia that you see?
Like something that you see most commonly.
Yeah.
You'd see stuff like tandoori stuff, like chicken tikka, butter chicken, that kind of stuff. You'll see all the time. Very common. You won't really see regional dishes, because I feel like even Indians in Australia or Indians outside, they stick to their own regional home cooking. When they go to a restaurant, they don't want home food. They want restaurant style food. You know, they want shahi paneer, they want kadhai chicken, they want that kind of stuff. So I feel like we're partly to blame when it comes to that, because we have an expectation that we set when we go to an Indian restaurant. So yeah, but the most common thing that you would see would be stuff like, you know, butter chicken or chettinad chicken or beef vindaloo. You would see that very commonly. Kadhai paneer. Everyone loves palak paneer. So everyone loves paneer actually in Australia. It's just everyone absolutely adores paneer, but there's so many more things that you can do with paneer apart from palak paneer and kadhai paneer and shahi paneer. You know what I mean?
So also, do we get to see the recipes created by you in MasterChef in your cookbook as well?
You'll probably see a different version of them. The recipes that I created on MasterChef, the ones that, you know, some of them I created on the fly because it has to suit the challenge and whatever comes to your mind on the day as well. So not all recipes are thought through and that kind of stuff. I mean, you get a few minutes to decide what you're cooking before you have to run to the pantry and grab your ingredients. So a lot of the recipes are, like I said, discovered. You know, you have to think of it, you have to think about it on your toes, like when you're in that moment. Which is why some of them are so random and some of them are so bizarre as well, like the green curry cake, which everyone talks about. But you'll definitely see different versions of those recipes in my cookbook because the basics of those recipes is like simple cooking. Like I made the green curry cake, but the basic of that is a coconut cake that I used, like a coconut banana cake that I used to infuse those flavors. And then I made the fried chicken with the mango chili glaze with a mango salad. Now the basis of that is a mango chutney and fried chicken. So when you kind of think about elements differently put together, those dishes are made for those challenges. But simplifying home cooking is all about, making those dishes more accessible, making sure that people have those ingredients at home so they don't have to go shopping every time they're cooking a recipe out of my book.
Also, Depinder, firstly, congratulations on your new role, being mom to little Meher. I think she turned 1.
Yes.
How is motherhood treating you?
Oh, it's been a journey that I can just talk about. I can write a book on that as well. It's been a great journey, and it's literally a blessing, to be able to have her, which is why we called her Meher. It's just, when I see her, I just forget about everything else, and you just want to. And right now, my challenge is to be able to cook things for her that she likes, because kids are your worst critics, and if they don't like something, they will tell you this is not bad. And she can't talk, but it's very obvious that she doesn't like something. So it's been a very interesting journey and a very rewarding journey. You see the reward in front of you, every day of your life, really. So it's really nice.
That was the next thing I wanted to discuss. Like, are you trying out new baby food recipes for Meher? And I'm sure if you try out, you can also write a book on it.
I probably could. I've probably made enough things for her in the last 6 months, trying to get her to eat more. And being a mum, and I'm very hands-on with her. I look after her, all day, like 24 hours, literally all the time. So to be able to cook for her is a pleasure for me, but it's quite nerve-wracking. It's like being in the MasterChef kitchen because I don't know if she's going to like it or not. She'll just throw it if she doesn't like it. So I've actually come up with so many different recipes. And the thing with recipes around babies is it has to be very healthy, very plain, very, digestible, and using like fresh ingredients. Like I try and not use things out of a tin or a can. I'm trying to incorporate as many vegetables, fruits, grains. But the advantage of having an Indian background is that a lot of the Indian dishes that we make at home, if I'm running out of all ideas, if I have no time to make her lunch, I will make her a vegetable khichdi with dal and give it to her with dahi, and she'll love that. And most of the time, it's the simple things that she likes more. She loves dahi, so I'm always experimenting with yogurt, different types of yogurt, fruit, vegetable, whatever I can do with dahi. She absolutely loves that. So I've probably created at least 50 to 100 recipes just to suit her. And not all of them have been a success with her, but and I always make sure I taste it before I give it to her, just to make sure it's edible.
So has she also culinary interest like you? Like, has she shown any influence like that?
She loves, I feel like she just loves hanging around the kitchen all the time. So when I'm cooking, I'm watching her and I'm watching after her and I'm cooking at the same time. So I have to keep her very entertained in the kitchen. That's the only way I can cook and get things done. So she's always kind of around there. So I give her a few things to play with and she'll look at it. Or I'll give her, if I'm making like little banana, I make banana pancakes for her all the time. So I give them that. I give her to, like, and she'll play with food. But that's the whole process, with the baby, that they're playing with food. They might not eat it, but that's how they learn about it. They're exploring it. So she's, I feel like she's interested.
So is that how you're balancing like momhood and experimenting with your love for cooking?
I think so. I think that's the only way to get around that. Because I'm so passionate about it. I don't think I can stay out of the kitchen for too long. So I try and keep her entertained at the same time. And that's the only way to do it.
And what's the first thing that you made for her?
The first thing I made for her was honestly pumpkin puree. Just pumpkin. Just kaddu and just made a puree out of that. And then I think I made like, suji and that kind of like upma and different things. But the first thing I gave her like apart from honey and that kind, like all that kind of stuff that traditionally we do, but I think the first thing was pumpkin for her, and it was very simple, very plain, no salt, no nothing, no oil, nothing, just pumpkin.
You also made a special Lori theme cake I saw on Insta for Meher's first Lori.
Yes, I created that for her just a few weeks ago.
So, Depinder, like taking into account your Indian roots and the Australian influence, how do you bring that together, and how has it helped you so far?
Look, I feel like being Indian is a part of your identity, obviously. And it's when you move to a different country like Australia. Australia is very multicultural. We're very lucky that way. The local Australians, people that have, been living in Australia for 3, 4 generations, they absolutely, they really appreciate if you actually are proud of who you are. And if you actually showcase your roots. And it's very easy to forget about where you come from. It's very easy because you fall into this trap and it's just easier to go with the flow. It's actually more difficult to stick by your roots and do things the way you want to do them. And I've faced that throughout, my time in Australia. And yeah, I think it's everywhere really. It's very easy to forget about yourself and just do things that are normal for people around you to do. So and that doesn't come with just being in a different country. It comes with a lot. It's a more of an attitude thing as well. So I think I've always taken the difficult route. I've always tried to do things that I find are true to me in a way. So, and that's where Indian cuisine and Indian cooking came to me as well, because it's not widely acceptable. Like for example, when I was in school, my mum would, she didn't make sandwiches for us for dinner or for lunch for school. Like she made me a paratha and wrapped achar in the paratha and gave it to me. That's how we grew up, and that's all she knew. So I used to get really embarrassed because, you open the tiffin or you open your lunchbox and it just smells different. It doesn't smell like a cheese cucumber sandwich. It's like an aloo paratha. And now that I think about it, I would go for the aloo paratha any day over the cheese cucumber sandwich. I mean, that's just boring. But for a school kid who's trying to make friends, who's trying to fit in, they've just moved to a new country. It's a very daunting experience when, people are like, oh, your lunch is really different. What is that? And because it's not normal, it's just different. And it's just perceived in a different way. So I think it's very important to kind of stick to your roots, believe in it, And if you don't believe in it, other people aren't going to believe in it. You know what I mean? So for me, that was like, that's just one example, but there's, I can give you so many more. But I think it's all about being true to yourself and always remembering where you come from.
Also, as you shared this experience, I would like to ask a bit more that this tiffin sharing experience. Did you actually share tiffin with them, or like did did it normalize later when you used to get Indian tiffin to school?
I think, well, I don't think they were open to sharing it because it was just they classified it as like weird. This is just weird. This is just not normal. But what normalized is me taking that every single day. Like I never changed that. Like, and it would go from aloo paratha to gobi paratha to mooli paratha, which actually smells, right? The mooli paratha has like a different smell to it. So it never really changed for me that in that sense. And I would take, like I would in my lunchbox, I would have leftovers. Like now I pack lunch for my husband and, or he'd pack lunch for himself and we just take whatever we have leftovers. And it could be like biryani or rice and dal, sabzi, whatever we have at home, even a roti, I'll wrap it up and I'll give it to him. So it's normalizing it for yourself, not so much for others. And I think that's what I've learned over the years. If you normalize it for yourself, and I worked in corporate sector, I worked in, healthcare, I've worked in a few different areas, and I never really let that change what I'm eating for lunch. And yes, over the years, especially when I was working in, as a pharmacist, a lot of my friends that I would have lunch with, they loved sharing my lunchbox. But if I took a cucumber cheese sandwich, if I normalized that for me, I would not have the confidence to be able to take dal, sabzi, chawal, for them. And there were times where I would actually cook for them and bring lunch for everybody at work because they just loved it. So I think it's normalizing in our own mindset more so for others.
So, in this cooking experience and journey of yours, Indian and Australian chefs who have played as an inspiration or influence in your life?
There's so many, like I can't even count. Like I can think of like the home chefs that really created, that kind of really motivated me as a kid because I used to watch a lot of cooking shows. I think Sanjeev Kapoor has to be on the top of the list. But also, my mum used to have a lot of books in Hindi written by Tarla Dalal. And we still have those books. And I know she's no more, but those books are like simple Gujarati or simple Indian home food. And I think those are the memories that I have when I see myself really learning about cooking. And it all starts from home. So you learn things that you see at home. So my mom used to make, say like aloo bengan or aloo gobi and that kind of stuff. And if she's not around, if she's traveling or if she's not home, and I want to make that for dinner or something, or I want to surprise. I used to love surprising my parents with food. And I didn't want to ask them. If I ask them, then it's not a surprise, right? So I would go back to these cookbooks and those kind of things and put ingredients together and then learn that way. Like I know the gist of it because I've seen mom, dadi, nani, everyone growing up, how to make these things. But it's the little things, don't add water at this point. Add, like in bhindi, don't add pani, do this, do that. So things like that I learned from those kind of chefs, either watching TV or reading books. And I probably I can't even count how many recipe books I would have. And they're from like, dessert like modern contemporary desserts to dalal dalal and everything and anything in between.
So also, are you in touch with your MasterChef 13 friends and like family that is built there? Are you touching?
Yes, absolutely. And I think you hit the nail on the spot. It's turned into a family, and it was a family even when we were all filming together. And it's your support system, and you really trust them. And that's strange because they're your competitors. And when you're competing with somebody, and I'm making a dish and I'm giving it to them, and I'm like, tell me how this is. They would actually guide you, and they would be like, oh, the other thing that you made was much better, or maybe cook it this way and try that. And it's strange because not all of them had an Indian background, but because they're foodies, they have tasted enough food to tell me that this is right, this is wrong, or this is how it's going to be perceived. So I'm definitely well and truly in touch with them. And if I have any food related query or question, if I'm traveling anywhere, I definitely reach out to them for tips and, for ideas. And like I was traveling to India, so I told them, guys, I'm going to be in India, and they were all very excited for me. So we keep in touch very often, and everyone kind of knows what's going around with each other, and you're in good hands, and you feel safe with them as well. And honestly, where do you find people that share the same passion as you, and to that extreme level as well? Like everyone loves food, but we are absolutely food obsessed. So when we went on MasterChef, it's nice because all of us are equally just as obsessed with it, and so it's about who's obsessed a little bit more than the other.
So, since you are in India right now, what's on your must to visit or must to eat list?
I really wanna have a Gujarati and a Rajasthani thali. I absolutely love both of them. I'm actually looking forward to some local seafood here in Mumbai as well, and obviously the street food. You can't go beyond street food. I'm visiting Gujarat next week as well, which is where I've got my extended family, and I know a few places that I'm going to visit for food as well. So I've got a pretty long list. I feel like I've got more items and less time. So I'm going to try and make the most of it. It happens every time.
So there's this ongoing battle forever, like Mumbai versus Delhi street food. Being unbiased, which is your favorite?
I don't think I can make that choice because they're both so different. Delhi Golgappa you can't match that, but then Mumbai Sev Puri and Dahi Puri, you can't match that either. And it's just different. Like Delhi ke chole bhature and Mumbai ka vada pav, I don't think you can really create any, comparison between the two because they're so totally different. So it's just, I think it's about appreciating them all, like collectively, instead of like, making that comparison. I know there's an ongoing battle all the time, but for me, I can't let go of Delhi street food because I grew up eating those dahi bhalle and those golgappe and chole bhature and all of that stuff. And then you come to Mumbai and you've got the vada pav, you've got, sev puri, dahi puri. It's just, and ragra patties, misal pav, like all of those things, you don't find those in Delhi. So, I mean, there's no point comparing.
So I'll end this conversation with what's the next thing that you are going to munch on?
The next thing I'm going to munch on. That's an interesting question. Probably another vada pav. I'm absolutely obsessed with vada pav. But to be honest, I really like Indo-Chinese. I love Indian Chinese food because I don't feel like you get this flavor back home in Australia. So I think that's something that I'm going to indulge in.
Well, thank you so much, Depinder. It was great chatting with you once again. Wish you all the best and have a safe trip. Eat lots of food.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. It was lovely chatting with you. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.